Yeah, I definitely wanted to be a mom. I mean, I always wanted to get married and have kids. I just wanted to experience that as a woman. I just wanted to, have children and watch them grow and, experience the world through their eyes. I don't think I really knew before getting pregnant what kind of birth I wanted. There's several hospitals in Atlanta. Basically, you just pick one and that's where you have your baby. I read a lot of Ina May Gaskin books, and I think immediately we were both just like, we have to have a natural birth. We have to do it the way it was, meant to be done. December 31st, New Year's Eve, it was about 6 p.m. and I reached to put my boot on and my water broke. And because of the meconium, we decided I needed to go into the hospital. I walked back into the delivery ward and there was a nurse's desk right when you walked back, and there were about 4 nurses sitting there. And they looked at me and said, "You don't look like you're in labor." And I said, "Oh, well, I'm not yet." "Oh, you just wait, like you will be in pain soon enough." They were just making little comments like that, like, "Oh, it's coming for you." I just kind of felt like I was an inconvenience, holding them back from whatever holiday plans they might have had with their families. We were going on 24 hours since my water had broken at that point, so the hospital was getting kind of nervous that I wasn't progressing as quickly as they would have liked. I was being induced. They kept upping the Pitocin, and then I'd say it was probably around 4 a.m. on the 2nd that the midwife came in and just said, "Okay, you're gonna need to have a C-section. Your water's been broken for too long. We need to get this baby out." I was devastated because they hadn't mentioned that word at all up until that point. And my husband, Michael, he got really upset. He stormed out of the room, and that was really hard. And I just, I didn't want a C-section. And I felt like they were threatening me. They said, "We can try vacuum extraction," which I hadn't really done any research on or given any thought to. And I said, "Okay, anything to have this baby vaginally. I just don't want to have a C-section." It was kind of just done very quickly. I had internal tearing and external tearing, and I had to have a lot of stitches. But in that moment, I was just so glad that she was there and glad that I didn't have to have a C-section. And it felt like, even though I didn't have a C-section, it didn't feel like I delivered my baby. It felt like someone took her out of my body. And so I just wanted that. I just wanted that feeling of I did it, and I didn't feel like I did it. I felt like someone else did it.
There's a very strong thought in the United States that birth is not safe, that it needs to be managed, and we need to save women from childbirth. And I feel like women are starting to understand that and to request that they have control over their pregnancy. And so as we created this space, we created it as basically a sanctuary where the process can happen in a very private and loving way.
It wasn't until after Stella was born that I learned about birth centers and the fact that Atlanta was most likely going to be getting one soon. I found out I was pregnant, and with the second one, I just had tears in my eyes because I was so excited. I just thought, I'm going to have this opportunity. This is going to happen. And, the birth center was due to open just weeks before my due date. I was past my due date, and as soon as I sat down to use the bathroom, my water broke. I went to the bathroom when I got home, and I noticed that again I had meconium in my fluid for the second time. They weren't going to be able to deliver the baby at the birth center because of the meconium in the fluid.
I think that was really hard, because you can say over and over again, every pregnancy is different, every birth is different. But when it starts unfolding exactly like your other one, it's really hard to kind of get out of the, well, I know how this ends.
But I remember when Andrea came in after her due date, and she was worried, and we just had we had time together and said, hey, everything's fine. I know that was something that she was here to redeem an experience that was traumatic. And we had to figure out, how do we still redeem this experience? We can't go to that space anymore. How can we bring that entire safe space to you at the hospital?
So we got in the car, we drove to the hospital. Anjali was there to welcome us as soon as we got off the elevator. And she had set up Christmas lights and candles, and she had brought in an oil diffuser, and it was just, even though I wasn't at the birth center, it felt like I was at the birth center. She sort of brought the birth center to the hospital for me.
It was an emotional moment. She had tears in her eyes, and she just kind of took it in for a moment and turned to her husband and said, we can do this. In one moment of just feeling that, she went from whatever fear she was hanging on to we can do this.
Crystal, which is one of the other midwives from the birth center, was there just to see me. I mean, she wasn't even on call that night, and she just came to see me because that's how much she cared. And that was amazing. She rubbed my back and she said a blessing over me. She was saying things like, your body is ready to do this. Your baby is ready to be born. It was like my body just let go. It was like I just knew at that point that I was ready to have my baby.
They need to hear that we are with them, that we believe in them, and that we will do whatever we need to do to ensure that they have what they need.